Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is great to have you with us. Today, we are taking on a word that is uh, probably in the top 5 most recognized spiritual terms in the English language.
For sure.
I mean, it's a word you see on tip jars, bumper stickers, internet memes, and even, I think, in Taylor Swift lyrics.
And yet, according to the stack of research we're looking at today, it's arguably the most misunderstood concept in the history of Buddhism.
We are talking about Kamma, or, karma, as it's usually anglicized. And usually, when we hear that word, we default to a very specific cultural definition, don't we?
We do.
It's the cosmic boomerang. You cut someone off in traffic, and then tomorrow you spill coffee on your favorite white shirt. That's the universe keeping score.
Exactly. It's the just world hypothesis. And it's comforting in a strange way because it suggests there's some kind of moral ledger out there balancing the books.
Right. If you're good, you get goodies. If you're bad, you get punished.
But the source material for this deep dive, specifically a text called The Architecture of Kamma, argues that this popular view isn't just a simplification, it's a fundamental error.
And a dangerous one, supposedly.
Right. Because if you view Kamma as a cosmic justice system, it actually stops the tool of Kamma from working. It turns a practical instruction into a superstition.
So you start, bargaining with the universe instead of actually training your mind.
That's it. And that is the big shift we need to make right off the bat. The source argues we mistakenly read Kamma as a description of reality.
Like gravity or physics, a rule that governs the outer world.
But it was actually designed as an instruction for responsibility.
An instruction.
And the stakes are high here. If you treat Kamma as a theory of physics, this causes that, you end up with fatalism. You end up waiting for the universe to punish your enemies or reward you. You become passive.
But if you understand it as an instruction, it transforms into a tool for immediate freedom. It puts the steering wheel back in your hands. So our mission today is to dismantle 6 specific misreadings of Kamma laid out in these notes. We're going to try to move this concept from a story about fate to a functional tool you can use right now, today.
Let's get into it.
Right, let's start with the big one. The one I think 90% of us default to, myself included. The source calls this the timeline trap. This is the distinction between the temporal view and the structural view.
This is the foundational error, really. The temporal view is the idea that Kamma is primarily about time.
Right. It's the, I did something in the past, so something must happen to me later logic.
It stretches cause and effect across lifetimes.
It's basically waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Totally. I was mean to my brother when I was 10, so that's why I have back pain today.
And that is exactly what the source warns against. It says the Buddha wasn't trying to give us a timeline of events. He wasn't doing history. He was looking at something structural.
Help me visualize that distinction. Because our brains are so wired for cause and effect over time, how can Kamma not be about time? Okay, think about a building, a skyscraper. If you look at a skyscraper, you aren't asking, what will this building do next Tuesday?
Right.
You're asking, what is holding this roof up right now? That's a structural question. It's about vertical support, not horizontal history. The source argues Kamma answers the question. What kind of action keeps suffering standing right now?
Whoa. That is a massive shift.
Yeah.
So instead of asking, what did I do 10 years ago to deserve this? The question becomes, what am I doing in this exact moment that is propping up my unhappiness?
Precisely. The misreading makes us look for a delayed punishment or reward. It makes Kamma into a moral ledger enforced by time. But the structural view brings it all into the immediate present.
So it's like a house of cards then. You don't ask when the house of cards was built. That's irrelevant history.
Right. You ask which card is supporting the structure right now.
And if you pull that card, that intention, the structure collapses.
Immediately. It doesn't collapse in 10 years. It collapses now.
But wait, this brings up a practical issue. If I view Kamma as a timeline, I feel like I have to pay off my debt, right? I have to burn through the bad karma I've accumulated. That's a very common idea.
Which is why the timeline view is so disempowering. It postpones responsibility. If you think your suffering is just the result of something you did 1,000 years ago, you feel helpless. You're just a victim of your past self.
Liberation becomes something for the future. One day when I've burned off all this bad karma, I'll be free. It's like a retirement plan.
Exactly. But the structural view says, no, look at what you are building right now. It moves the focus from what will happen to me to what am I doing?
It puts the power back in the present moment. You don't have to wait for the debt to be paid. You just have to stop signing the receipt for the suffering now.
You got it.
That actually leads us perfectly into the second misreading. Because if we aren't talking about a timeline, we also have to stop talking about karma as a thing we carry. The source calls this the backpack fallacy.
Yes. The shift from functional to essential. This is where language really trips us up. We treat karma as a noun instead of a verb.
We do this constantly. We say, I have good karma, or I carry heavy karma, or I need to get rid of my karma. We treat it like it's a substance.
Yeah, like radioactive waste or gold coins that we're lugging around in a spiritual backpack.
Right.
And the source is very clear here. Karma is not a substance. It is not a thing attached to a self. It is an activity.
An activity.
Specifically, the activity of intending, choosing, directing, and sustaining.
So it's not the luggage, it's the act of carrying.
It's even more fundamental than that. Think about the verb running.
Mm.
If you were running and then you stop running, where did the running go?
It didn't go anywhere.
No.
It just ceased.
Exactly. You wouldn't say, I have accumulated a lot of running, I need to get rid of it.
I mean, after a marathon, my knees might feel like I accumulated it, but I see your point.
Yeah.
There's no pile of running stored in the closet that I have to dispose of.
Right. The running is the action itself. When the activity stops operating, nothing remains. The source uses this phrase, no residue, no substance, no karmic mass to erase.
That is incredibly liberating, because if I think of Kamma as a backpack full of rocks I've collected over lifetimes, that feels impossible to empty. It creates this sense of crushing overhead.
It creates anxiety. How big is my pile? Is it bigger than yours? How many lifetimes will it take to shovel this driveway?
But if Kamma is just intending an action I am doing, then I could just stop doing it.
When the activity stops operating in an appropriative way, which means taking ownership of it, nothing is left over. It's not that the past didn't happen, but the weight of it is maintained by present action.
You're recreating the backpack every moment you grasp at the past.
That's the idea.
Okay, so it's not a timeline, and it's not a backpack.
Yeah.
Let's move to misreading number 3. This is one that I think drives a lot of skeptics away from spiritual practice entirely. It's the instruction versus description problem.
This is when people use karma to explain the mechanics of the universe.
The classic, why do bad things happen to good people? Question. Or, why was there an earthquake in that country? And you hear people say, well, it must be the collective karma of that region.
Which is a terrible and, frankly, cruel way to use this concept. It's blaming the victim using metaphysics. The source is adamant here. Kamma was never meant to be a total explanatory system.
So the Buddha wasn't trying to teach, what, geology or meteorology?
Yeah, no. He was giving a training instruction. The instruction is pay attention to intention, because that is where suffering is shaped.
It's a tool for the mind, not a theory of the world.
Exactly. The text says it was meant to locate responsibility precisely where freedom is possible. You can't control an earthquake. You can't control a random illness. But you can control how you intend and relate to those events.
If you try to use it to explain everything, it becomes what the source calls a doctrine to defend. You end up arguing with people about metaphysics.
Can you get stuck in the weeds of speculation?
Which is useless for ending suffering.
Completely useless. There's a great line in the source that really summarizes this distinction. Truths compete. Tools converge.
I love that. Truths compete, tools converge. Break that down for the listener.
If you treat karma as a truth with a capital T, prepared a description of how every atom in the universe moves, you have to defend it against other truths. You have to argue against randomness or genetics or physics.
We get into debates.
But if it's a tool, a diagnostic tool to see which actions perpetuate suffering, then you just use it. You don't argue about a hammer, you just use it to hit the nail.
So Kamma is a diagnostic tool. It helps you check, is this action I'm doing right now increasing stress or decreasing it?
That is it. That's why the Buddha could talk about different kinds of karma, including the kind that ends karma. It's pragmatic. It is not trying to describe why the dinosaurs went extinct.
It's trying to describe why you are miserable right now and how to stop it.
Exactly.
I think that leads us to the darkest misreading, honestly, the one that actually causes psychological harm. This is point number 4, fate versus freedom.
This is arguably the most damaging misreading. The idea that karma equals fate.
This is my karma. I deserve this. Nothing can be done.
That is fatalism.
Right.
And the source points out a logical contradiction here that is really important. If karma were fate, if everything was pre-written by your past actions, then the spiritual path would be meaningless.
Because why try? If the script is already written, I'm just an actor reading lines. I can't ad-lib.
Right. If you were just a puppet acting out a script written by your past self, There's no room for change. There is no room for awakening. The Buddha explicitly rejected that view.
Called it inactionism.
He did. If everything is past karma, then murder, theft, and kindness are all just fate, and you have no choice.
So how do we reframe it? If I have a strong habit,
Mm-hmm.
say I get angry easily, that feels like fate. It feels inevitable. How does the architecture of Kamma view that?
We go back to it being present-centered. Karma is dynamic. Intention is happening now. It is shaping experience now. Even that habit of anger requires your participation in this moment to sustain it.
It's not a script you're reading. It's a conversation you're having.
That is a good way to put it. You are always intervening in the process. If you treat it as an entity, my fate, you freeze it. But if you see it as a process, my present intending, you realize you can change the shape of it right now.
It sounds like all these misreadings share a theme.
Mm-hmm.
They all take power away from you. They put power in the past or in some magical substance or in the stars.
And the correct readings all put the power right back in your lap right now. That's the architecture. It is designed to corner you into freedom. It removes every excuse.
But, and here's the twist, this leads to a logical problem.
Mm-hmm.
And this is our fifth point, and honestly, this is the one that always trips me up, the action paradox.
Right. This is the tricky one.
Follow me here. If intention creates karma, and karma creates suffering, and the goal is to end suffering, shouldn't we just stop doing anything?
The zombie defense.
Exactly. If I don't want to create karma, should I just lie in bed and stare at the ceiling? Should I suppress all effort? Because if I intend to eat lunch, that's intention, that's karma.
This is a very common confusion, and it leads to quietism, people thinking they need to become passive or detached vegetables. But the source identifies this as the distinction between instrumental and appropriative action.
Okay, those are big words. Let's break them down. Instrumental versus appropriative.
The source explains that even for an enlightened being, the mental functions of desire, the Pali word is chanda and volition satana, remain active. They don't become brain dead.
They still eat, walk, teach, and act. They still have motivation.
Yes, but those intentions function instrumentally. That means they are used as tools. They are not used appropriatively.
Appropriatively meaning taking ownership. This is me, this is mine.
Exactly. When you appropriate an action, you are building a self out of it. You're saying, I am the great podcaster, or I am the victim. You are feeding a sense of becoming. That is the sticky part.
But if you use it instrumentally, you're just doing the job.
You use the intention to get the result, but you don't stick to it. The source uses the Eightfold Path as the prime example. The path itself, meditation, ethics, wisdom, is Kamma.
Wait, the path to enlightenment is Kamma. I thought the goal was to get out of Kamma.
It is, but the text describes the path as neither black nor white Kamma leading to the ending of Kamma. Think of it like a fire that burns itself out. You use the fire to burn the fuel, and when the fuel is gone, the fire goes too.
Or the classic raft analogy.
Right. You use the raft to cross the river. That is instrumental action. You need the raft. You need to paddle. But once you get to the other shore, if you pick the raft up and carry it on your head, that is appropriative.
That is ridiculous. You would be burdening yourself with the tool.
Exactly. So liberation isn't non-action. It is the non-appropriation of action.
That distinction is subtle but vital, because I think a lot of people try to let go of the raft while they're still in the middle of the river.
And they drown. You need the Kamma of the path to end Kamma. You engage fully, but you don't cling to the identity of the doer. You act, but you don't build a monument to yourself with the action.
This resolves that whole paradox.
Mm.
You don't have to check out of life to end Kamma. You just have to change how you relate to your own actions.
You strive, you care, you act, but you don't build a house of cards out of it.
Wow. It seems like we have completely rebuilt the definition of this word. We've gone from a cosmic timeline of punishment to a present moment tool for checking our intentions.
And that's really what the source material is aiming for, to clear away the superstition so the tool can actually work.
So if we had to boil this entire deep dive down, the source actually gives us a golden rule for spotting these misreadings, a litmus test.
It does, and I think this is the sentence to write on your mirror. Kamma is misread whenever it is used to explain what happened instead of to see what is being done.
Let's say that one more time. That is the core of it.
Kamma is misread whenever it is used to explain what happened instead of to see what is being done.
That distinction changes everything. Explaining what happened is looking back. It's fatalism, it's storytelling, it's the backpack. Seeing what is being done is looking at the present. It's active, it's responsibility, it's empowering.
It replaces moral judgment with functional clarity. You stop asking, why is the universe punishing me? And start asking, how am I maintaining this stress right now?
The source ends with a concept called stand. It's a way to visualize this new understanding.
Right. It's an acronym of sorts, or rather a visualization. It says, suffering stands because intention is being used as support.
Like the pillar or the house of cards we talked about earlier.
Yes. And Kamma ends when intention is no longer appropriated. When you stop using intention to prop up the self, the suffering has nothing to stand on. It collapses.
So the action continues, the eating, the walking, the working, but it no longer feeds the suffering.
Exactly. No timeline to worry about, no residue to clean up, no cosmic judge watching you, just clarity.
So here's our final thought for you to take with you today. We want you to try this stand concept. Don't look for karma in your past. Don't look for it in the future. Just notice your life right now.
Pick a moment where you feel stress, frustration, or anxiety. Don't ask, why is this happening? Ask yourself, where is my intention being used to support this suffering?
What am I doing right now to hold this structure up? And if you stop appropriating that intention, if you stop making it yours, does the suffering still stand?
That's the experiment. And that is where the real deep dive begins.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.